What's up, everybody? We are back with another EW podcast. All right, so today is kind of an exciting day for me because we are going to interview one of the most famous jewelers / watch dealers on the internet, on YouTube, on social media. And the funny thing is that this guy is actually somebody who I feel like him and I are family because he has appeared in more producer Michael videos than I have. He's probably the only guy that appeared more. I've appeared
have a lot
in
of producer Michael.
I think
videos.
I've appeared in maybe 10 or 12, and I think he's appeared in something like 15 producer Michael videos. So he's OG. He's not here yet. I can't wait till he gets here. He's going to be seated right here. But today we're going to be interviewing Peter Marco. I can't wait for him to get here.
You rockin' with Seth, so you rockin' with the best. Over 25 years, we've been better than the rest. Fred, he know these watches like the back of his hand. If you wanna learn watches, guaranteed this the man. I'm just saying, EW podcast.
There he is.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Peter, how you doing?
Good to see you. Yeah. Nice to see you. Good to see you. Yeah.
That's Mr. Peter Marco,
All
ladies
right.
and gentlemen.
Here.
In the building.
You sit next to me.
Okay. Awesome.
Oh, this is exciting.
Look at all this inventory. Cool.
Notice there's no jewelry. There's no diamonds.
Yeah.
Yeah. I only deal in
love it.
watches. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Good to see you, brother.
Hey, man.
Everything good?
Yeah.
Good
This
to
is
see
this
you.
is like very
Thank you.
surreal. This
Nice to meet you.
is Steven.
Good to see you.
This is Fred.
Yes, Fred.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yeah.
so Peter, Fred and I,
favorite- he got my
Fred and I
favorite
been
color
we've been working together, know each other for almost 30 years. We've been in the watch business for 20 years together.
You guys look like you're 32.
Thank you,
No,
man.
we're old. We're old.
Wow. Okay.
Steven is our producer. He's been with us for a year now. And yeah, so we've already done the introduction. So basically, what I've already told our public is that I'm very excited because
Thank you.
I feel like you and I are sort of family
Yes.
through producer Michael.
Yes. Well, family first because of the jewelry, the common denominator. You know,
Well, yeah, I
we're all
mean,
in the jewelry business together.
well, I'm not a jeweler. You know that. I've never even sold a diamond in my entire life. I've only sold watches
Some
my
people would
entire
consider
career.
this jewelry.
Oh, it's men's jewelry, yeah, that's
Yeah.
for sure. But the fact is that I feel like we're family because you and I are two of the more notorious recurring characters on the Producer Michael channel.
100%.
Now, I don't know about you, but for me, I give a lot of credit to my success to Producer Michael because he really put me on the map. I mean, I was doing well. I had a well-established website since 2004, but on social media, nobody had really ever heard of me until Producer Michael came in my store
Really?
that day. And
Okay.
yeah, did you see the video?
Yes.
Do you?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's actually a good question to ask you. Do you watch these videos? Ooh,
You know, I don't. I'm not, I'm so busy and I don't really watch a lot of TV and I don't really get on the computer a lot and I'm not on the phone a lot. It's like I'm hustling and grinding all day long.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you
That's
are.
the way to get it done.
Keeps me busy.
By the way, we drink. Do you drink?
I don't drink.
You don't drink. Do you want a water or anything?
Water would be fine, yeah.
How about a Bud Light?
No.
Okay, so you don't even
that's
drink
good.
Bud Light.
No,
How are you doing, by the way? Do you need a refill or are you good?
Hey, you can refill me.
All right,
Excuse
good.
me, Peter.
Okay, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're drinkers, obviously. Oh, I keep dropping my
Well,
phone.
Seth's training me, so
There we go.
a little at, a
You
little
know,
at a time.
I'm-
Some good scotch. By the
Yeah.
way.
I'm 63 years old and I never once in my life smoked. Never once in my life did I do a drug and never once in my life did I drink.
Really?
Yeah, 63, never.
Wow.
Yep.
That's unbelievable.
I know,
And
that's
so
God's truth.
when you say you never smoked cigarettes and you never smoked cannabis, you never smoked anything?
Nothing.
Wow.
Don't even know what that is. To
Wow.
inhale it. Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Well, listen, no homo. You're a very good-looking man. You're
thank you.
So now I see like
Thank you. Thank you.
you're doing very good. You got
I
great,
try.
amazing hair, amazing skin. Yeah.
Thanks. I try.
All right, but let's move off that topic.
All right.
Oh man. All right. So like I said, this is very surreal that you're here, and thank you so much for agreeing to be on the podcast. I wanted to find out for you, obviously, Peter. So first of all, let me just kind of like mention a fun fact. Your name actually isn't Peter Marco, is it?
It's not.
I think
And everyone calls me
I
Mr.
think
Marco.
Everybody
Mr. Marco.
basically comes up to you and says, "Hi, Peter Marco,"
Yeah.
and you just
It's
say,
the
okay.
brand I built.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
funny how that works. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, I mean, I guess some people probably realize
It's
that your,
catchy.
that your name isn't
It
Peter
sounds
Marco,
good.
but
You know, I actually named it after my two sons. You know, I changed the name. I've been in that location. My face has been there for about 24 years. And then in 2008, I changed the name to Peter and Marco, which are my two sons. I named my firstborn after myself.
okay.
So he's Peter, and then I got the Marco.
There it is.
Okay, but you are Peter, like you just said.
Yeah.
And you named him after, so he's a Peter Jr.
Correct.
All right, so is he also on social media?
A little bit. Yeah, both kids are.
Okay, what's the name of his YouTube channel? Does,
Oh, he doesn't have a YouTube channel.
Okay, so maybe I'm getting confused with another gentleman who. Oh, that's right. The guy said that he's your
Nephew.
You're his uncle. He's your nephew.
Yeah.
Dom.
Dom. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's got a
yeah.
huge
Dom's cool.
following, like
Yeah,
a couple of
the-
million followers. Yeah,
I
that
think
was
I got 500,000. Yeah, he
that
works
was
out.
that was a great video, actually. All right, so I know you've mentioned it a little bit on social media. I do follow you, obviously. I'm a big fan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
and
sir.
yeah, I mean,
I follow you too.
And so, what's interesting is that you and I, even though we've been in business, and I've been in business in Beverly Hills for like whatever 25 years, you've been here for I think 25, 30 years. We've actually never done like $1 of business together.
It's amazing. Yeah, but we know of each other.
I think it's because I didn't really push forward, walk into your store, and really like bring merchandise and try harder. I think it's my fault, right?
I would blame it on you. Yeah.
Because
It's all your fault, Seth.
you're too established really to like hit the streets and like. I mean, I know that you used to hit the
did,
streets,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
like in the last 20 years, you're set up on 2 Rodeo, which is like the creme de la creme, the best real estate in Beverly Hills.
Thank you.
You've got an amazing location, which I want to talk on a little bit later. But yeah, you're not exactly roaming and talking to dealers and trying their best to like do business with them. It's like either walk into your door or call you up and try to push merchandise, or you're not doing business with you. So I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Good
yeah.
things are worth waiting for.
Yeah. So
All right.
yeah, maybe we can do some business.
yeah.
But obviously, both of us know producer Michael.
Yes.
So,
Actually, I've been in my life for, I don't know, maybe 30, 35 years.
So tell us something about producer Michael that maybe tell us a story if you can think of something off the top of your head that no one's ever heard of, like no situation with him that.
So what's interesting is it was 1990, and I have a home in Florida, and I was on the West Coast in Tampa, and I wanted to get a brand new 2-door Mercedes sports car. What was it? SL.
Perfect for Florida.
SL 600 and or a 500, at 500 or 600. So I pull into the Mercedes lot, and there's 15 white ones, 15 blue one, black, white, and red, like 15 of each. And I'm looking, I'm like, all right, everyone and their mother's got this car, And then this music is blasting, and some rock and roll dude pulls up on the driveway with this light blue SL 600 or SL 600. Yeah, that's what it was. Convertible.
Did he have a cool shirt on?
Yeah, with
bet he
funky
did.
shoes. And I was like, who's this clown getting out of the car, And so anyway, I said to the guy, well, that's a nice car. And he said, that's going to be for sale. He said, this guy's, I don't know, he buys cars, and every 6 months to 9 months, he trades it in for a new one. So that's only probably about, less than a year old. I said, that's going to be for sale? He said, yeah. He says, come on, I'll bring you over, and I'll introduce you to him. So he brings me over, and he says, hey, Mike, how are you? He says, this guy's Pete. He was looking for a car today. He goes, hi, nice to meet you. And then he goes off. Let me tell you all the things I did to this car. you know how Mike is with his cars.
He turned into a salesman.
Oh
Right
my God! Like I was wondering if he worked for the dealership, like or he wanted to make sure it got sold so he could get
That's
another
Michael,
one.
yeah.
I don't know what the deal was. Wait, I put a lip in the back so the water doesn't roll down, and I changed this and I changed that, and this is an upgrade, that's an upgrade for a half an hour without even breathing.
Yeah.
He tells me everything. So I says to the guy, "All right, so it's going to be for sale." I said, "I'll take it." So I buy the car.
Hang on. So the car dealership didn't get any commission in this at all? You just
No, I'm sure. No. The dealership told me that he was trading it in, and
Okay.
he came that day to drop it off because his
Okay.
new car came in,
Okay.
which was I think a white one or something.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
so anyway, that's 1990, and then I come out here in like 2000, and the car was mint. It was like, not even 1,000 miles on it or something. Convertible, baby blue, just beautiful. And so I come out here in like 2000, and I'm in Florida, and I ship the car out here. So I ship the car out here, and it's in the garage, and it's in the basement, and I'm coming to work, and I'm driving it to work every day. So one day I'm in the store, and some guy walks in. He goes, "Hey, how you doing?" He says, "Well, you got some really big diamonds in the window. You got some nice watches. You got some nice stuff." And I look at him. I go, "Is your name Mike?" And he goes, Yeah. I said, "Did you used to live in Tampa?" He goes, Yeah. I said, "Come here. Come with me. I want to show you something." So he looks at me a little weird, So now we go up the block, and we go to the elevator, and I go down to 4 levels below ground. And I see he's getting nervous, and he's looking at me. Afterwards, he confessed how he was like, thought I was going to kill him or something. He didn't know what to expect. So we go 4 levels down, and we walk out, and I go, "Remember that?" He goes, "Oh my God, my car! That's the car! Yo, you're that guy, And I said, "So you're living out here?" He says, "Yeah." I says, "That's my store." And then honestly, every Friday and Saturday, with my wife and his wife, every single week, every Friday and Saturday, we went out to dinner.
Really?
And we just went it was like a routine. And we got to be better and better and better, and then closer. And then we were helping each other in different projects, and we did business together in different areas. And then the next thing that happens is he's like, "We should travel together." You can ask Mike. We literally took 15, 20 trips, and we basically covered all of Europe. I mean, name the country. We would go.
Wow.
We thought it was.
I don't think. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I don't think anybody realized that you guys actually have
No, it's like
a real friendship.
No,
not just
it's
not just a
no.
phony friendship.
No, it's like solid. I mean,
I don't think I've ever shared food with producer Michael.
No,
It's crazy.
I mean, he's my friend, but I've never gone to lunch with the guy.
So he has a daughter, and his daughter's a little younger than my 2 sons, and we both agreed that it would be, there's no schooling for traveling, there's no schooling for the streets, and we wanted our children to be worldly and appreciate nice things, and we knew that it would be smart to take them traveling. So, like one year, we hit every place in Italy. Every trip was 3 weeks to a month. And
Solid.
Solid. And then we did Switzerland, we did Germany, we did France, we did Canada. One year we went to Canada. We hit every single city in Canada.
Did you guys take video for good content for YouTube? Probably way before YouTube.
But Mike always kept his family private.
Okay.
They're not on social media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
good point.
I mean, I got pictures of the kids sleeping together, eating it was just one big family. We would share sweets together, and I'm telling you, 15 trips. You pick it, we went there together, all over the place. And of course, you're living together for 3 weeks or a month, and you're traveling together, and then we went down to I don't remember when it was the Indianapolis 500 and the Indy race and concerts, and we would always come up with another idea about something else to do, and we spent a lot of time together, and then it kind of stopped with COVID. When COVID came, we didn't want to go out, and then all the problems on the street with the robberies and this and that, and we stopped.
All right.
But very, very close friend.
All right, the Mercedes story is unbelievable. I can't believe you met him buying a car. Did you have a question?
I do have a question about the Mercedes. Yeah. We know it was light blue, baby blue.
Yeah.
What color was the interior on that piece?
Navy blue.
Oh, nice.
So it's dark
nice
blue,
combo.
light blue. I did a couple
Nice
things.
contrast,
I went out and bought these badass big chrome.
Crip color?
You already know, cuz.
He doesn't know what I'm talking about.
Do you still have the
No.
Okay,
Yeah. No, it'd be too old right now.
All right. So that's the producer Michael bit. All right. Let's talk about you. I always like to find out. You're Italian, is that correct?
My mother's Swiss and German. My mother was born in Zurich.
Okay.
And my father's Greek and Italian.
Okay. But you are from New York. That's your accent. Is a New York accent.
New
Okay.
York, yep.
So I've seen some of your videos. I know I did my research before this interview. So I know that you started early on, and you started on the bench in the jewelry business. Is that right? Were no. How'd you start?
What's lower than the bench?
Sweeping the floors.
Yes.
Yes. Top cleaner.
All right. Yeah. So who are you? Who was it that gave you a job sweeping the floors? Who is this guy?
It's a long story. sometimes you're a product of your environment and you can't break away from your environment. So my grandfather was who he was, and my father followed in my grandfather's steps in New York and who he was. And so my dad left when I was 4 years old. And I didn't see my dad again until maybe I was 25. So I grew up without a dad, and my mother was a single parent, and we struggled. You know, it was cardboard in your sneakers when you have holes. And Mom, I want a glass of orange juice or water. She said, yeah, a glass of milk or orange juice, and have some water. And she didn't go to college. She was a secretary, and so we struggled a lot. And I was growing up on the streets, and because we were poor, we lived.
Brooklyn or
Queens.
Queens, okay.
So there's an area of Queens. Do you know what a projects is?
Sure.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. So anyone familiar with New York?
Oh yeah.
Well, we're not New Yorkers.
We're not New Yorkers.
We're,
but
we're LA guys, but we basically think we know New York.
So
I can know all the boroughs. Yeah.
all right. So this is going back, 1976. So you have Queensbridge Projects, which is under the 59th Street Bridge, Vernon Boulevard. That's where a lot of rappers used to perform. So you got Queensbridge, and then about 10 blocks down, you got Ravenswood Projects, and about 10 blocks down, you got Astoria Projects, and then about 10 blocks down, you got Marine Terrace, which is another projects. And each projects, the building is maybe 10 stories high, 15 stories high, and there's like 20 families on each story. So you got 200-300 apartments in each building. There's like 50 buildings. You're like cattle, but the rent and everything is subsidized by the government or the city. And so that's where we were living because we were very poor. And, it was 95% African-American and Spanish, and being I'm dark now, but back then,
White.
You were a minority.
White,
We call it sun-kissed.
Yeah.
You were the minority at that time.
Yeah, and but like I always got along with everyone, and I was the exception, and like everybody watched out for my mother, watched out for my sister, and anyway, I was like growing up on the streets, and I was just doing all the dumb stuff that you do when you're poor and you live on the streets, and getting in and out of trouble. And so my mother would send me away to camp, and the camp would give her money back because I was trying to do business in the camps, and so and it wasn't jewelry business then. And so there was one summer that my mother knew someone that their husband worked as a jeweler in this very big manufacturing company in Manhattan. Okay. So the Diamond District is 47th Street. They were on 52nd Street, between 5th and Madison.
Right there.
And Madison.
And, it was sort of like one of the top 10 companies in the United States at that time. It was strictly not a household name because it wasn't a retail store. It was a factory, but they sold all the big finest stores across the country. And so they hired me over the summer, and it was a very big place. They had a factory, they had a showroom, they had offices.
You were like 15, 16? 15 years old, okay.
And I went up there, and my job was to clean the place. I was cleaning the bathrooms, I was dusting, vacuuming, Windexing. I was doing all this stuff, cleaning the place. And, I was always 10 years ahead of myself. I was always on point. The way I handled myself, you just grow up very quickly, and you mature quickly. And when you're in that environment. And so I really, at the time I went up there, I was seriously thinking, all right, I'm going to rob this place with my guys. This is
Do an inside job.
This is what I was thinking.
It makes sense. That's probably your mentality, right? Like,
Right, yeah.
And then I went up there, and like everybody was so nice. And this is truth. Back then in 1976, if you wanted to make good money, you were taught to be a doctor or lawyer. And now between college, 4 years, and then law school or medical school or internship, 10 years of school, that wasn't me. I barely made it through high school. So I went up there and I did my job. I did it really well. I was always I handled other things for them, always showed responsibility. Then one day the messenger boy called out sick. This is during that summer break that I was on summer break. And I know it sounds funny like you're Papa John's delivery man, but to be a messenger boy for this company, you were walking around with $50,000 to $500,000 in product. I had to run to 47th Street and pick up gold or platinum, picking up rubies, emeralds, diamonds. It was like running. So I showed them I was very responsible. And there was, I could really have you here for days. And I should write a Hollywood script if I'm making this up. But there's things that happened. And I was always the kind of guy that figured out a solution, handled problems. So, for example, one day the owner says, Pete, go vacuum my office. I said, sure, Met. And I go in there, I start vacuuming, and he put a 10-carat diamond on the floor. and I'm vacuuming. I'm like, there was no cameras back then and this and that. And I was like, what the and I pick it up, and for that second, it was like this was my whole world. I never saw.
You could literally just put that in your pocket and
swallow it.
or swallow, yeah.
And what did I do? I went to him. I said, "Man, I found this on the floor." And he said, "Very good, very good. I'm proud of you. Proud of you."
Oh my God,
solid.
Wow.
I almost get goosebumps just hearing that story.
I swear to God,
good for
I
you,
got
bro.
it. Yeah,
Good for you.
That's truth.
It
Good
sounds
for
like
you.
there were a lot of tests along the way.
There was a lot of tests.
Temptation
Yeah,
along the way.
You never know. You could have been getting set up, or you could have just done the right thing, which sounds like you did the right thing.
One day I come up and there was Gloria, Michelle, Tina, and Linda. These were all the 4 secretaries up front.
You remember their names.
And they were all, and they were all stressed out. And I'm like, what's the matter? And they're like, oh, you know how the boss is. He wants lunch from this restaurant. And I'm calling and I can't get through to this restaurant. And he's getting upset. He keeps saying, where's my lunch? Where's my lunch? Because he was like a no-nonsense guy. And I said, Michelle, give me the phone. And I dialed the number, and I said, operator, emergency interruption. I'm a young kid. I'm at school. I need to get a hold of my mother immediately. Please, can you cut the line? And so they cut the line, and someone's on the phone ordering, going, hello, I'm trying to order my food. And the other person says, I was ordering the food. And the lady says, okay, hold on 1 second. She takes my order. And like 10 minutes later, the food's there. So he comes out, and he says, how'd you get my food?
Yeah.
And they told the story of how Pete did this, and he got the food. So at the end of the summer, after 2.5 months,
Resourceful.
you just got to,
amazing.
you can't get in the front door. You climb through the back window. You just got to figure out a way to make it happen.
right.
Yeah, that's a really good lesson to any entrepreneur. Actually, I love that expression. What did you just say?
You can't get through the front door, climb through the back window.
Hell yeah!
And if you have to break the window, you break the window.
Love that.
Get in.
So, at the end of the summer, I realized that, everybody liked me. Everybody kind of took me under their wing, like you felt important and special, and they all kind of respected me because the way I handled things and did things. So I went to the owner and I said, look, I know this isn't a charity house and I know you're a business, but I would like to work here. I told him my story, how he felt bad that I didn't have a father and this and that. And my mother was working day and night and I was basically raising myself. And so we worked out a situation. Now I'm in 9th grade. So I'm supposed to go to school from 7:30 in the morning to 3:30 and do that for 3.5 years to get enough credits to graduate high school.
Right.
And so what I did is I went to school from 7:30 in the morning to 11:30. I worked at the company from 12 o'clock in the afternoon to 6 o'clock. And then on 14th Street, Union Square, Manhattan, there's Washington Irving Night School. And I went to night school, a high school that had night school, and I went there from 6:30 to 9:30.
Wow.
And I did that 5 days a week for 3 years to get enough credits to graduate high school.
Through New York weather.
Yeah. So now I'm 15. I come home one day, and my mother's all happy, and she says, Peter, I met a man, and he's got a marble business in Europe, and he knows how we've suffered and how we've had such a hard life, and he wants to give us a better life. And so we're all moving to Europe, and he's got a home right off the beach. And I looked at my mom, and I said, Mom, I don't want to go. I'm happy. I'm doing really well. I said, I remember saying to her, like, all the Italians of Greece come to America to make money.
Yeah.
Why am I going over there?
way.
It was like the opposite. And I was like, no way. And she said, look, the law in New York is 18, and you're 15. You're underage, you got to go. And we're fighting. And at one point, this man who had a very European mentality, he was like a hardcore guy.
Sure.
He said, leave him in New York. Leave him. He'll call us up in a week or 10 days crying, send me a ticket. I can't survive. Yeah. And so they left me.
Oh,
Wow.
They left.
15.
I was 15 years old.
Wow.
I got a studio apartment, an illegal apartment in a 3-family house in Astoria, Queens. And so this was my day.
So do you remember what the rent was? Like $500 a month, something like that?
It was like $450 a month. Yeah.
As a 15-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And I kid you not, I cleaned, I cooked, I worked, I did my homework, I paid my bills, and I went to school. And now you're going to start to understand, as I tell you my story, why didn't I ever smoke or drink or this? So first of all, almost everybody I grew up with, this is God's truth. They're either dead or they're in jail. This is, it's a cliche. People say it all the time, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
And what was I doing? The neighbors would call me up, Pete, Jimmy cracked his head. He's drunk. He split his head open. He's laying in the street. I pick him up, take him to the hospital. Kenny overdosed. I take him to detox, Elmhurst Hospital.
Yeah.
Put him in programs. I was the only one out of everyone. I was always picking everybody up and bringing them to where they had to go, hospitals or detox or whatever. And my father was also another one. He had a coke problem. So I remember going over his house one time having a party, and there was like a whole bunch of people, and I sat down on the fireplace bench there next to, and I went to one guy and it was like this, and I'm like, this is what, and it wasn't me.
Wasn't you for you?
And so
Good for you.
what happened was, after everything was cleaned at the company and after all the deliveries were made, I'd sit down, I watched the jewelers. And the foreman of the jewelers said, hey, I think he's ready to try it. So they let me start it. I started cleaning castings, and I started sizing, and I started assembly, because, you have a bracelet could be 50 pieces, a necklace could be 200 pieces. I was starting to assemble, put together. And then, eventually I became a polisher, the quick version. And then I was starting to set diamonds, because they made more money than everyone. Because when you're setting a stone that's, let's say $10,000, $20,000 stone, you got to know what you're doing. It's a big responsibility. So they made good money. And then I was about 16. I had too much energy to be on the bench, and they put me in the production department. Now, they had a big production department because orders came in, and, for example, style number 54 came in, and style 54 takes, 27-millimeter emeralds. It takes, 15 marquee diamonds. This is the measurement. You got to put all the pieces together, give it to the foreman at the shop. He gives it from the polisher to the setter to the jeweler, and then it comes to quality control, and then you have the finished product. And so I went there and I learned all my knowledge of stones. And that was for about a little over a year. And then I'm going to night school and everything, and then I graduate and I get a diploma, high school diploma. And I remember that day. All my friends had their mothers there, their family there, and this, and I was by myself, had no one. And, but I was always like a tough kid. And so what happens is I graduate, and now it's June of 1979.
Okay.
And it's June.
I was 2 years old. A year and a half.
But you know what? I'm hearing that you took advantage of your youth and your energy.
I did.
Yeah.
So now the owner says, Pete, I think you're going to be a good salesman. And I said, tell me what to do. I'm the kind of guy, I listen well, I take orders, and tell me what you want me to do. And he gave me a bag, and the bag was like $2 million. And it was all finished jewelry, all finished. And he said, all right, Pete, listen, you're going to get in your car, and you're going to drive, I remember like yesterday, you're going to drive to Hartford, Connecticut, Boston, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire. We didn't have iPhones back then. He said, you're going to go to the yellow pages. You're going to look up jewelers. You're going to rip the pages out. You're going to get a hotel room. You're going to map out. You need to sell the 1 or 2 stores out of the 1,000 stores in the city, because it's the Rolls-Royce dealership, right? It's the high-end stores, because you got a high-end product. And look at the ads and the yellow pages, and whoever's showing the biggest ads for diamonds or Rolex watches or AGS store, which means American Gem Society, that's the store you want to try to sell.
So they weren't even handing off their best clients to you.
No.
You had to figure out everything on your own.
On my own.
But it still seemed like a really high responsibility mission.
Oh, you're walking around with $2 million.
Amazing.
Long story short, for 4 years, 11 and a half months out of the year, I drove the whole United States.
Wow.
The
That's what I did.
adrenaline must have been crazy.
So you had yellow pages as your Google Maps. No, actually, no. That was just like
every
your Google.
major
Target clients right there.
But you had
for the
a
Yellow
Thomas
Pages.
guide.
I remember Thomas Brothers.
map. I had a map, and I went to every major city,
So
and then you don't go to the little tiny suburb cities, you go to the major
big
cities,
cities,
and every city has a major strip or a major shopping area or a downtown area, so to speak, and then there's suburbs where there's lots of money in the suburbs, and you just you learn where the money is and where the wealthy areas, and ask a lot of questions, stopped in a lot of gas stations asking directions.
Yeah, exactly. You have to stop at the gas station and ask for directions.
One thing, Peter, I was going to say, I notice every time I see you dress, your drip is always up to par. So,
Thank
question:
you.
how did you? Obviously, you're traveling the country with these big, expensive stones, really nice, jewelry pieces. Like, how did you learn to dress and like build up your appearance when you go to these stores?
So there's always you get one shot to make a first appearance or first impression, and this was a really high-end store, a high-end company with a high-end line, and I'm walking into very, very wealthy people and very wealthy stores, the best stores in the country. And so from day one, it was like $1,000, $2,000 suits back then. I flew first class. I mean, I rented the best cars. I stayed in the, you're in a store and, you want to leave the bag there overnight so you could be free, or you have an appointment in the morning. So you go, you drop the bag off, and then you're going to go to the hotel and you're going to go in the morning, right, to start working with them. Yep. Where are you staying? I'm across the street at the Ritz. I'm over at the Four Seasons. I mean, you got to just portray that you are a class act with everything you do. You can't say I'm in Motel 6.
No.
Yeah.
As James Brown would say, you have to pay the cost to be the boss.
And I'll say this to you. Back then, I had to pay all my own expenses. So here I am, 18, 19 years old. They were giving me $2,000 a week. Ooh. It was called the drawer against commission. So I had to cover that in sales, and pay all my own expenses. And so when I went on the road the first time, it was for 6 months because I graduated in 79 in June. So I went on the road July to August, or July to December. The following year, I was on the road the whole year. And I remember the following year, the owner called me in and he says, "Pete, sit down." I says, "What did I do? Is everything okay?" And he said, "Do you know how much you sold this year?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Listen, I'm going to call our corporate banker, our corporate lawyer, our corporate accountant, and our corporate financial advisor, and I'm going to ask them to take you under their wing." And I said, "Okay." He said, "You sold X amount of dollars, and I made a ridiculous amount of money for a 19-year-old kid. Wow. Over $1 million at 19. Wow. And I had no bad habits. So all I did was get the proper guidance. I remember I was like 20 years old, and I bought my first house in New York, an investment property.
Okay.
At 20. And long story short, all I did was work hard. And then after about 6 years, he said, "Do you see what you did in the United States?" He said, "I want you to do it in Europe." And so one of the biggest jewelry shows in the world was in Basel, Switzerland. Mm-hmm. It's a 10-day show. And I went over there and I laid out the line. I went over with millions of dollars, laid it out. And who did I meet? I met store owners and buyers for all the stores across Europe. Yeah. Next thing you know, I'm traveling all over Europe extensively. Wow. And then he says, "Time to do Asia." Oh. And so I went to Tokyo, I went to Hong Kong, and I did the same thing. I did the shows, and next thing you know, I was traveling all the way. Yeah. So I pretty much traveled like the whole United States and the whole world for like 25 years.
Did you enjoy the Caribbean? Did you hit the Caribbean?
Oh, yeah. I used to sell Little Switzerland. Yeah. I did St. John's, St. Thomas, St. Croix, Nassau, Bahamas.
So, all right. To summarize.
Took me all over the place.
To summarize, you went from sweeping floors to learning how to actually assemble the goods. They saw some talent in you. You proved yourself as being trustworthy, and then they put you on the road, and you became an amazing salesman at the wholesale level. You were good at selling to the dealers. You weren't yet selling to the public. Is that correct?
Selling to retail stores.
Right.
Store owners.
Exactly. So you literally learned the trade from the bottom up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that puts you in a good position after how many years of thinking that you're actually going to open up your own retail store? After 20 years of selling on the road, or
almost 25? Yeah.
Wow. And you sold all over the world, like you said.
Yes.
And then what brought you to Beverly Hills?
So it was a combination of a few things. I met a woman, and I told her, "Quit your job," and she was traveling all over the world with me.
It always comes back to a woman, doesn't it?
It's always something with a W.
That's where the plot twist.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay. And then
we all know
she got pregnant, and we traveled literally until she was like 8 months or 8.5 months, and then we went back to New York, and she gave birth. And I said to the doctor, "When can we start traveling?" And he said 2 or 3 weeks later. And we literally had one of those playpens that was 4 feet by 4 feet that folded up into a foot by a foot. And we were traveling the whole world with the playpen and the kid. This was my career. And then you start to, you grow and you change. And it was going to be real easy for me to be an incredible father because I would do the opposite of everything my father did. Yeah. And I didn't want to be an absentee father.
Right.
And then simultaneously, 9/11 happened. And so when 9/11 happened,
2001,
the world of traveling changed a lot. For example, when I would go through the X-ray machine with the bag, the rings and the necklaces and the bracelets.
Set off the alarms.
No, it looks like wires to a bomb.
wow.
When you go through the X-ray.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I would get, I'd have to pull on the side and say, I'm a jeweler. Can I have a private search? They put me in a room. They'd have to go through everything. But now you're walking out and there's a half a dozen people that saw what you have in your bag.
Oh, my goodness.
And so, but also the
move
security.
different.
The security to rent a car, they were looking with mirrors under the cars to go to places, to travel. And what happened was, let's say I'm living in New York and I went to a store in Chicago. If I went to that store in Chicago 6 times a year, I'd write a $100,000 order every time I went. Now I went to Chicago 10 times and I wrote 0 every time I went. Like the whole world, the whole country just shut down.
Oh,
The economy shut down. I was like, I love what I do, but I don't want to be an absentee father. I don't want to go away for a month and come back and my kid, grew a beard. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I remember saying, I'm going to open a store because I love what I do. And then being worldly and international, I was thinking Paris, I was thinking London, all these really wealthy, rich places.
Yeah.
I was even thinking Tokyo at one point. And then you start saying, well, I want to stay in the United States. I want the U.S. currency. I want English. I want to be protected by the U.S. government. You start thinking differently. And then you're thinking, all right, New York, Vegas, Florida, and then when you put you have to be real worldly to figure this all out because Vegas, all right, so you're in a hotel, you're inside all day, and the casino or the hotel, whoever owns it is your partner. Okay, not for me. New York.
You're right. Those guys actually take 10% of your sales as part of the rent, I think.
It's 50% they're your partner. You can't open.
Wow.
You can't. No,
I heard
come on.
10%,
No, they're
50%.
your partner.
It's crazy. Yeah,
they're your
they're in your
partner.
pockets too much,
All
yeah.
right, New York. New York is spread out. New York, you're probably out of business 4 to 5 months out of the year because of the bad weather. Okay, then you think Florida. So when you put it all together, again, because I was worldly, I said, Hollywood. It's an iconic street, Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills, which I'll explain to you my thinking back then. It's the capital of the music industry, the film industry. I know that through my contacts and traveling, that Beverly Hills, California has some of the best doctors in the world. And I'm going to tell you that people come from all over the world for surgeries.
For sure.
And when I opened my store, from like May to November, I bet you 50% of the women that walked in had a bandage somewhere on their body.
Okay,
That's how
okay.
crazy it is. Okay, then we have some of the best schools. Good point. Yeah. So what happens is the kids are out here attending universities. Yeah. Now, if all of us got together and said, let's travel, and we hit some spot in Europe, after going that far and spending that kind of money, we ain't going to one spot and coming back. We're going to hit a few spots. So we get the traffic from Vegas. Vegas and probably Orlando is the 2 biggest tourist attractions in the world, right? So anyone going to Vegas for 45-minute plane ride, they're coming over to Beverly Hills, and anyone going to Beverly Hills, or it's a 4-hour drive. So they do the circle. They do San Francisco at the time, L.A. and then Vegas. And the real wealthy ones went on to like Florida and New York. But that's the trip they do.
You saw the pattern in the circuit.
Yeah, so there's many reasons. So I looked, and I knew nothing about retail. And so there was a very big diamond manufacturer from Israel. There was a retailer who was very successful in Arizona, and there was another retailer who was successful in Colorado, and myself. We opened up a store, and they were all absentee owners.
You opened up a store in Beverly Hills.
The store that I'm in now.
The same location.
Same location.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about the location, but go ahead. I don't want to cut you
So
off.
I found the location, but I didn't know about retail, and I was a little bit, I didn't know anything about that. I just knew what I knew. And so I pitched it to them, and they came in, and I did 99.9% of all the business. I handled the whole store. Yeah. The retailer gave me his knowledge of retail. The diamond dealer supplied diamonds to the store. And then if you recall, In 2007, the first 6 months was like everybody was doing well. The last 6 months, 2008 was like the biggest recession.
Oh man.
All
It
right.
was the financial.
So that was a
meltdown,
big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
That hit us.
Vegas or Nevada, Florida. Real estate went down like 70%. Arizona, 70, 80%. It was crazy. So where were these guys? One was in Arizona. He was barely trying to hold on to his own store. The other guy was. So long story short, they all wanted out. And so this was 2008. So I turned to them. I said, all right, now I had the knowledge of how to do everything. I said, I'll buy yous all out. So I bought them all out and then took over in early 2008. And then 2009, I believe, I formed Peter Marco. And so I-
So you took this retail location at 2 Rodeo.
Correct.
Which is a legendary location. Everybody is attracted. Everyone goes there. All tourists are there. All the wealthiest people walk on this street. How did you, first of all, know that 2 Rodeo was such like the hub? Was it? I don't remember it back then. Was it really like always the place to go?
So when I was traveling the world, there was a lot of money in San Francisco. San Francisco was crazy. I did a tremendous amount of business and had come down to LA. And when I came down to LA, there was a half a dozen jewelers that I sold. So I used to walk up and down these streets. Wow. I used to walk up and down Wilshire Boulevard and Beverly and everything. I was selling a lot of people out here. So I knew the spot. And then,
So I mean, there has to be a funny story about how you actually got that location. That you can't just get that location. It's an unbelievable location.
So I'm gonna tell you an amazing story. This is truth.
All right, let's hear it.
That 2 Rodeo is privately owned. It's not. It's
Owned by
private.
Beverly Hills.
No,
It's privately owned.
privately owned. There's a very wealthy family out of Ireland. They own the most expensive properties in the world. They own that street. They bought it for $300 million back then, and now it's worth almost $3 billion. They turned down $3 billion.
This is some inside baseball.
Okay, so it's privately owned. So when I wanted to take that location, I had an interview with management and ownership. One of the son-in-laws happened to be in town. And to keep it real with you guys, they didn't do the right thing by the street because they have now 38 to 40 tenants. They have a responsibility because they get top dollar in rent
Right.
to those tenants. They should lease to a person or to a company that has a big name. You want to lease to a big name to bring people to the street because while they're walking to me, they're going to pass the other tenants. They're going to look in the window, see something they like, and buy it, right? So you want to bring a big name in. So here I am, this kid. I go down there and I tell them my story. And the owner, he said, you kind of remind me of me when I was younger. And he took a liking to me. And I said, look, I will become one of the biggest brands in Beverly Hills. I will build it. I don't give up. I don't lose. I'm a winner. I'll make it work. I'll make it happen. And he told me we're supposed to rent it to a big name, Chanel, Gucci, whatever.
I mean,
Right? You think Cartier?
Some big name,
Hang
yeah.
on. Let's just go down the list real quick.
Yeah.
2 Rodeo, Breguet, fill in the blanks. Breguet, Richard Mille,
Audemars
Piguet,
Tiffany.
Tiffany and Company. Yeah.
Porsche,
Design.
Jimmy Choo, Versace, we can go on and on. Yeah, it's all big names.
It's all big names.
And so you want a big name to bring people.
Yeah.
And they said, we'll give you a shot. And before COVID, we have to submit our figures to management. Then that goes to ownership because all the figures are given to all these organizations in Beverly Hills because of the tourism.
Right.
You got the, Beverly Hills Conference, you got this one, you got that one, whatever. And they came to me before COVID and they said, I think it was 2017, and they said, Pete, I just want you to know, we don't even give you figures to the city because you're doing so much business it will throw off the figures for tourism. Wow. This is that was the biggest compliment you could ever get.
Wow.
So I already, because of the organizations, I know what Louis does a year. I know what Hermes does a year. I know it sounds crazy. We're doing 3 times a year what the biggest store
companies are doing.
is doing. And we're
Very
the
good.
smallest store. We're the smallest store. But did I sell a $15 million diamond out of the window? Many times. Did I sell a $5 million, a $10 million? Did I, I just closed 1 for 3, 1 for 2.5 this last 2 weeks. We sell. And I'm no genius. I didn't go to college. What I do is this. I'm a real honest guy. Yeah. I'm going to treat you like family. I'm going to get to know the name of your cat, your bird, your dog, everything. I'm going to become buddies with you. You're going to walk in our store. We're going to roll out the red carpet, whether you're spending $500 or $1,000. or whether you're spending 10 million. I'm going to keep it real. We're all surrounded by phonies in our life. We're all surrounded by takers. When they walk out of my store, they're like, with all the jewelry I've bought over my years, no jeweler ever told me all the things you told me about diamonds. And I'm like, because they made extra money on you. You know, whether it's the fluorescence in the diamond that brings down a value, whether it's the depth of the diamond that could bring down the value, whether it's the cut, the symmetry, whatever it is. You know, and it has to do with watches, and it has to do with, there's so many tricks. You know, watch has a card. Does it have a box? Is it fully linked? You know, you take 2, 3 links, 4 links. If I go to the client and say, a brand new Rolex Jubilee, how many links are supposed to be on that bracelet? They don't know. They just put it on. It fits them. They buy it. Meanwhile, the jeweler might have made another 6,000, 7,000 on the side because he took the links out.
Gold links, yeah.
I educate them on everything.
All right. In your shop, are you basically like literally the only salesman in your store? I don't know how. Do you have another salesman that works for you?
No, we got a rotation of like 7, 8 people.
But sales guys.
So here's the thing. I don't have the luxury to have a back office, someone to answer the phone, someone to do appraisals, someone to work with customers, someone to take the garbage out. When I hire someone, everybody does everything. You know how many compliments I've gotten from the richest people in Beverly Hills? You know, they see me out there 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, Windexing the windows. They see me walking the garbage out. I do everything. Everybody in the store does everything. They'll answer the phone. Customer comes in. They work with the customer. They write it up. We work with vendors. We do appraisals. We run credit cards. We answer the phone.
So you're not selling like 99% of the items. You're saying that like you sell 50%, 60%, 70%. How much percentage are you actually closing, and how much are your employees? I'm curious.
So I'm very unconventional in my thinking and a lot of my answers. I look at it that we're a team. They make me who I am, and I make them who they are. I never even thought once, how much did I do, how much did they do? We all do it together.
Okay.
You know, if I make a big sale, it's because they had good manners, or they were polite when that person walked in, or they started it and then I took over, or whatever it might be. But that's not me. I give the credit to all of us. We're a team, and we all do everything. You know, if someone was taking out the garbage and a big client walked in, I can't say, oh, you know, you did us a favor and took out the garbage and now you missed that. So we all share. We share everything.
For sure, they say we go further. We go further together.
That's it. You know,
all right,
my job is to bring out the best in my people.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. My hunch is that this day and age, though, with social media, when guys are walking into Peter Marco, they're looking for you and they want to deal with you, right? And so you're literally, what are you working 6 days a week these days? Are you in the store?
So there's a restaurant on our corner that closes 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And God's truth, for probably 18, 19 years, I left and the restaurant was closed. You know, this is how hard I worked. Wow. Only in the last maybe last year, I just closed on Sundays. Otherwise, I'm there 6 days a week. But guys, I'll tell you, it's not a job. If it's a job, you're going to regret it. You're going to hate it. You know, I love what I do. It's a passion. I get up and I'm like, I'm going to hustle today, wheel and deal. What am I going to sell? Who am I going to bring happiness to? Who's going to walk in my store? You know, I got a lot of Hollywood people, a lot of music people, a lot of sports players. You know, it's just so exciting every day. I could run off a list of, I don't want to do that because we have confidentiality, but, you know, just like I could drop 25 names in the last 3 weeks.
You seem like you have the same electricity as when you were a teenager.
Yeah, it's the same.
I see that.
It's the passion. I love what I do.
It's very impressive. And you know, this is my first time really getting to talk to you. I'm blown away. But
thank you.
Let me change the subject a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Fraud, criminals, robberies. What's going on over there on 2 Rodeo in your store? Are you a target? I know you got millions. I hardly even see a security guard there. I mean, what's going on? Seriously.
So I wouldn't necessarily single out Beverly Hills. You know, if you look at the news, it's every major city across the country. Yeah. There's smash and grabs. Crowds run in, run out. I don't think we stick out any more than any of these other cities. We might be more sensitive to it because if we hear it happen in Philadelphia or Chicago or Miami or Houston or New York or Vegas, you know, it doesn't hit us. because this hits home because we're here. This is our home. So we've had our problems. It's gotten a lot better. You know, everything in life, no matter what it is, you go through different stages and phases, and you got to adapt to the changes, you know. So we adapted to certain things that we're doing that we didn't do.
Have people tried to like literally run away with a ring in their hand? Like, has that happened to you?
No,
I mean, it's never happened to me personally, but has it happened to you?
No.
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 Okay.
No. You know, I think what's funny is we don't discriminate, and I
Right.
get a lot of respect. You know, if you ran into some of these guys in an alley, you'd probably like, you know,
Yeah.
freak out, you know?
Yeah,
and I
right.
got them calling me GOAT and OG and Papa and
Yeah.
Uncle, and there's a lot of respect.
You never know.
And it's because I treat them well.
You treat
They're
them well.
not going to go out and buy something from me and find out that someone could have did it for less. I am, without a doubt, a relationship store. I'm not a transaction store. And I'm going to, my priority is the relationship. I never made money my God. I never made money the most important thing in my life. I do what I do. I bring happiness. And you know what? All that rest comes by itself.
Yeah.
You know, I could tell you so many stories, but you know, I remember one kid came in. He wanted to spend $1,500. It was a young kid, and I treated him like a king.
Yeah.
$1,500. Next thing you know, about 4 months later, a guy walks in and says, "I'm here because my son has a friend, and he gave me the name, and he says he spent $1,500. How well you treated him, and he spent $1 million with me."
There it is.
Wow.
And you know how many people,
That
small fish lead to big fish.
Yeah.
And you know how many people come in on referrals and repeat and
Oh, yeah.
just this is
That's the
my
name of the game.
livelihood.
Yeah.
And so with us, listen, I ran a 65-foot digital billboard in Times Square, New York.
Yeah.
For November, December, January. It cost me a fortune. I did magazine ads all over the country. I did billboards. I did benches.
Sorry. You had a store in Beverly Hills and you were advertising in Times Square?
I advertised all over the country. Yeah, all over.
Wow.
Because I'm an international street.
Yeah,
I'm international.
That's
from
very
there.
aggressive.
I did every magazine, all the airline
I would
magazines.
never even think
We,
to
we,
do something
we,
like
call
that.
it
Yeah.
omnipresent.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I
All
did.
right, good
I
for you.
did. I
How
did
did that work out for you?
really well.
Okay.
I got
Wow.
lots of calls. There were a lot of people. I made sales.
Yeah.
I covered the cost by far.
Is this before social media or after social media?
Before social media.
Yeah, right. Now
you
it's-
spend no money.
Yeah.
And now it's podcasts, YouTube, and TikTok, and
I
Instagram.
mean, you
and
have a huge presence on social media. I mean,
It's-
unbelievable
What's
what
more
you're doing.
important than our presence is our interaction.
Interaction,
If you look at
100%.
our interaction, man, it is over the top, and the comments and just the love that people show us.
So when people come into your store, because I'm curious, because I'm thinking about doing some actual like content myself in my store
Yeah.
with my customers. I've never done it.
Yeah.
I've always kept my customers, out of the limelight. But do you ask them ahead of time? Is it okay if we film you, or do you ask them afterwards? How does that work out for you?
The priority for me is to make the client feel comfortable.
Okay.
Right?
Solid,
And
yeah.
they're there to look at stuff. And to not have that attitude, it would be selfish. It's like, oh, I just want to film for content.
Right.
No, so you ask them. Do you mind being on a YouTube or
Okay,
you
you
mind being
ask
on
'em.
Instagram?
All right.
And 90% of the time, I'll know who to ask and who not to ask. There are
Right.
people that come
Yeah.
in with hats and glasses and wigs, you know,
Right.
because they don't want to be identified.
Okay, some
There's-
people don't. All right, so
There's people that
so
come
you're-
in
you're-
after hours that
This
I
is
have
one
to
of
open.
these, like-
And today, even
know.
the ski mask, but they're not there to rob you.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
It's true.
In fact, I've seen it. So, obviously, you made your bones in jewelry. When did you start transitioning into watches?
You know, one of the things I do is I surround myself by the best in every industry in the world, and that what elevates me and makes me better. So, and I listen to my surroundings and I listen to my clients. And it started off as a favor. Hey, Pete, I trust you. I don't want to deal with these other guys. Can you get me this watch? You know, this was 20-something years ago. So I made a phone call and I got the watch. And he told his friend, and before you know it, I was getting
Call
all
Peter.
these watches, you know. And then at the time, this is true story, I looked on the street and there was one store that had 35 watch brands. There was another store that had 30. And then you had
I know exactly who you're talking about, by the way. I could probably name them right now.
yeah.
I'm not going to name names, but I could probably name them,
well,
yeah.
And then there was boutiques. There was probably 70 watch lines on the street, and no one did a secondhand or
Right.
used,
Yeah.
and no one did aftermarket diamonds, where someone went to Rolex and didn't want to spend, 8,000 on a bezel where I could do it for 2,000 or 3,000.
Right.
And so that's how it started, and that's how it started to evolve. And it was one thing after another, and that's so it's probably.
So what year was that?
I would say 2010. It's probably around
Okay.
2010.
Oh, so a while ago. Okay.
Oh yeah, no,
okay.
It's been a while.
All right. Okay, so you've been in the watch business for 15 years, basically.
At least, yeah.
All right. Okay, so one of the most famous guys that appears in producer Michael videos is a guy named Yossi Dina.
Sure.
Do you know Yossi Dina personally?
Yeah, very well.
Have you ever done business with Yossi Dina?
He would call me and ask me for big stones, but I always kind of shied away.
All right. Same here. All right. So we don't know what happened to Yossi Dina. Supposedly he's living in Israel, but everybody always asks, Where's Yossi Dina? We love, because he was really good in front of the camera. In fact, he has his own TV show.
Yeah.
He was good for producer Michael. Okay. So how about fraud? Are people trying to F you with like fake credit cards?
Yeah. So
is
that's
it happening
everywhere.
It's happening to me. Is it happening to you too?
Yeah. So what's interesting is it's not blazing guns and machine guns and this and that. It's
Cyber.
check fraud.
Yeah.
It's money order fraud.
Yeah.
It's internet fraud. It's even wire fraud. It's credit card fraud. It's more sophisticated fraud.
All right. So it's happening to you too.
Yeah, it's everyone.
All right. I've had specific rappers defraud me. Is this happening to you as well?
Some of the rappers, they were a few of them. They're young and they came into money young and they needed to mature and grow up a little bit. And so there's a few that I sued, and they call me up and they're like, "Mr. Marco, I'm so sorry. I was young, I was dumb, I was stupid. How much do I owe you?" And they send me a check.
Really?
Yeah. And
Wow.
it's been over, and that happened
Real
a few times.
I wish that was my case.
and then there's a few that I reached out to people in their camp or other rappers that know them, and they said, "I'll talk to them," and then it's made whole.
All right, let me ask you another question that's on my mind. All right, so, Peter.
Is this where I'm supposed to not answer?
You sell watches that have aftermarket diamonds, customized watches.
Bust downs.
You're literally located across the way from AP and Richard Mille. Has this ever been an issue for you? Like, have they ever tried to legally shut you down for selling customized watches?
Sure.
They have.
Yeah. So what happens is this. I don't care where you're from in the world. I don't care what your culture is, your religion is. I don't care who you are. Nobody likes a bully.
Right.
The problem is there is no one on the street that's there longer than me except Tiffany in the restaurant. So people come and they want to lease, and nobody has the brains to turn around and look at the people around the location they're going to lease and see what they're doing.
If they can get
so
in there.
now you lease, and then you're like, "Oh, look what's here." Well, guess what? I was here 10 years before you doing this, and you're not going to bully me. I don't care how big you are.
Yeah.
So they complained. It always depends who the manager is. There was a certain gentleman that had an interest in AP, and he had a problem with me, and so he went to management. He went to ownership. He went to everyone. And, in my lease, there was no cutout that I couldn't sell watches, number one. Number two, I sent him hundreds of ads of me advertising watches and selling watches 10, 15 years before these people appeared on the street. So don't come in and bully me. Now the management and these stores have changed. The people that were involved are no longer involved. They're out. And the new people, even when the big bosses come from overseas, they look at it and they say, "We don't have a problem with this because this is not what we do. We're not selling aftermarket diamonds, and we're not selling used." Yeah. They're not selling used.
There's no competition.
And they're selling a brand new product. So, listen, guys.
So sorry.
Let me just real important point.
Go ahead. Sorry.
There are people who buy used cars, and there's people that buy secondhand cars. Does that mean, look, how much business? Maybe I got to know what the statistics are, but I bet you the used car business is probably bigger than the new car business. And so one doesn't take the other one away. So the guy that wants a used watch to spend some money, he ain't going AP and buying a brand new one. He wants a secondhand one, and he wants to save it. It's like the guy that wants the car that already dropped 20% and has a couple thousand miles on it to save some money. And that's the niche I fill.
Vintage
that
guy and
simple.
modern guy are different.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
or for their personal preference, their personal liking.
So
Yeah.
to summarize, yeah, they had a problem with you, but they couldn't do shit. There's nothing. They
you know,
could-
went
they
to
couldn't-
lawyers.
they
It went to
couldn't-
lawyers
so-
and this
yeah,
and
they
that, and then
tried.
it was dropped.
So there was lawsuits, and they just
Not
got,
lawsuits, legal
Just
letters that
threats.
went back and forth.
You know, I feel
Nobody
bad.
wants a
There's- you know,
bully.
you know, there's a historically on 47th Street, Cartier sued a ton of guys selling customized Cartiers, and some guys
Watches?
actually, watches.
Yeah.
And some people actually had to settle for selling a customized Cartier.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's in the past, and I'm happy to hear that you never actually had.
So
to,
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You're a client. You go to Cartier. You buy a watch. You pay the full retail. You take ownership. 2 years from now, you wake up and you're like, I want to put diamonds in my Cartier.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to do that as the owner?
Yeah, but what these guys were doing on 47th Street was different. They were selling the watches already customized to the end user. It wasn't the end user bringing
All
a
right.
watch.
So now I'll
and
give you
ask-
another story. You come to me and you want a big diamond for your wife, and you say, I'm not wearing this watch anymore. And you give me a customized Cartier. Can I buy your watch as a trade-in and use it as credit? And so now I have that watch.
Yeah.
This is just, it's part of the business.
Yeah.
You own it. Yeah.
You own it. You're trading it in. Now I own it. I mean, I'm buying
Right.
it secondhand. It's,
If that's the case, they should go after the consumers, not the not the reseller.
You know what? I feel like I have a million more questions for you, but this is a long video. I'm going to wrap it up right now. My friend.
let's do it again.
My friend, I hope this is like the start of something unbelievable between you and I. We're only
Thank
a
you,
block
sir.
and a half of each other.
Thank you.
Our businesses do not overlap at all.
Yeah.
As you can see, I don't sell any jewelry. I don't sell anything with diamonds.
And even if it
And-
did,
Yeah.
that's not who I am.
Yeah.
I would help you out.
All right.
I'd help you out.
Very good. All right, guys, we're going to see you on the next podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. I want to thank Peter Marco.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Peter.
It's been amazing. All right, guys.
I'm just saying. EW podcast.